I always felt like my husband was forced to marry me. Whenever we were intimate, Marcus only used his hands. I finally gave up and decided to let it go. But the night before printing the divorce papers, I heard him talking to his friends. "Why don't you touch your wife?" "She's right there," one of them joked. "Emma might escape if you keep holding back." Marcus sipped his whiskey, his voice low and firm. "They don't understand, and yes, it scares her. She's my wife, I have to appreciate it. If she finds elsewhere what I can't give her, so be it, as long as she comes home to me." His friends laughed. "So why do you secretly Google everything?" I checked his browsing history last night. 99 searches, all variations of, "I finally married the girl I love, but I have a perversion." How do I do it without scaring her? The day after Marcus returned from his business trip, I had a plan. I showered, shaved, put on all my makeup, and slipped into the new sheer nightgown I had bought, sliding into his side of the bed. I waited to be won over. When he emerged from the bathroom, the sight of me on his sheets made him freeze. The towel in his hands stopped mid-scrub. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice devoid of warmth. My gaze ran over his body. Marcus's physique was a work of art. Broad shoulders, toned chest, and barely visible abs. He had definition even underneath the luxurious robe. However, in 6 months of marriage, I had never been allowed to really know him. I moved forward anyway. "I'm here to lie with you." For a moment, his expression wavered. His gaze fell on my lingerie, and after a long pause, he muttered something inaudible. My disbelief shook me. But as he approached the bed, a wave of uncertainty hit me. Only the warm light of the lamp illuminated the room. The scent of lavender lay beside me. The smell of soap and cool air surrounded me. My heart raced as I wrapped my arms around his waist. His whole body tensed. "Emma." Her voice was a deep whisper. "Do you want me to help you?" Before I could answer, he stepped away, opening the nightstand drawer with practiced ease. My excitement died instantly. I wasn't going to share his body, just fulfill a duty from a distance. When he pulled out the toys, rage erupted inside me. I snatched them from his hand and threw them at his chest. "Help me with what? You're so damn boring. What new tricks could you possibly have?" His dark eyes fixed on me. Unreadable but intense, all my pent-up disappointment burst out. "Marcus, if you can't get it up, just say it. You're not the only man in the world. We're married, for God's sake. Why does every encounter feel like a grudging favor?" His voice tightened. "That's not what I meant." But he didn't reach for me. He didn't even try to kiss me. This was the third rejection. My patience shattered. I grabbed my robe, stormed out, and slammed the door behind me. At Claire's apartment, I drank shots of tequila while my phone vibrated incessantly on the table. "Aren't you going to answer?" she asked. "No," I rasped, my throat irritated by the smoke and alcohol. With a little insistence, the whole story came to light. Then came the question I dreaded. Why doesn't Marcus want to? "Maybe he doesn't like women," she suggested. I shook my head. Marcus had dated girls in college, and since then, men and women alike had thrown themselves at him only to be rejected coldly. Then an idea came to me. My sister, my perfect, elegant sister who had escaped to Paris. Rumors said that Marcus had always loved her. Suddenly, everything fell into place. I was just the substitute. Whenever he touched me, his eyes were distant, as if he were an observer in his own life. It disgusted him. The thought tore me apart. "I've already decided," I said abruptly. Claire blinked. "Decided what?" "I'm going to divorce him in the morning." My phone was flooded with messages from Marcus. When I returned home, he was waiting. The air stank of stale smoke, the ashtray overflowing, his voice hoarse. "You're back." His eyes lit up, then rested on the faint red scratches that Claire's manicure had left on my neck. His pupils contracted. His expression darkened. I passed by him. "I'm exhausted from last night. I'm going upstairs." I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was just fed up. A marriage without passion wasn't a marriage at all. But that night I fell ill with fever. Marcus came to my side, gentle, almost desperate. "Who else should take care of you?" he whispered, urging me to take the medication. His cold fingers brushed my lips, but his clenched fist on his thigh betrayed the agitation he was hiding. Later I woke to find myself wrapped in his arms, something hard pressed against my leg. His voice was husky. "Emma, we can try." Any other day I might have melted, but the wall between us was too high. "I can't," I said coldly. "I'm too tired." His breathing became ragged with visible effort. He stepped away. "It's my fault. I don't blame you, but don't push yourself so hard. Next time. It's not good for your body to have fevers like this." Then he turned around, gathering clothes for me. Just a towel clung to his hips, his body on full display. My heart skipped a beat when I saw it, but it no longer meant anything. I changed in front of him, and as expected, he turned his back on me. What I didn't know was that once I left the room, Marcus returned to my bathroom. Days later, I began to notice my clothes were missing. At first, small things, then lace lingerie that Claire had given me at dinner. I finally mentioned it. "I think we have a thief." Marcus froze, the butter knife slipping from his hand. "What's missing? Lingerie?" His hand stopped completely. My eyes narrowed. "Why so nervous? Did you take it?" He remained silent for a long time. Then he gave a low, humorless laugh. His dark eyes dug into mine. "What do you think?" The sound of his laughter haunted me long after dinner was over. That low, humorless laugh, along with his dark eyes staring into mine, repeated in my mind like a curse. "What do you think?" The words dripped with meaning, but I couldn't decide if it was defiance, confession, or mockery. I had gotten up from the table angrily, refusing to let him see how upset I was. Upstairs, I curled up under the covers, but sleep wouldn't come. My mind kept going in circles. The missing lingerie, the ashtray full of his cigarettes, the iron grip he had used when he held me during my fever. Marcus was falling apart, and I didn't know if it was because of me or despite me. At dawn, I decided I couldn't avoid it any longer. I needed answers. When I tiptoed downstairs, the house was silent. Marcus's study door was ajar. He was inside, sitting at his desk in an immaculate shirt, unbuttoned as if it had strangled him during the night. His laptop screen was glowing, and though his fingers hovered over the keyboard, he wasn't typing. He was staring at a small black velvet box in front of him. My heart stumbled. A jewelry box. I thought of engagement rings, of promises made, but when Marcus finally opened it, my breath caught in my throat. Inside, there was no ring, but a simple silver key. "What is that?" My voice broke the silence. Marcus tensed. He slowly closed the box and slid it into his desk drawer. "None of your business." The coldness in his tone cut deeper than any blade. I entered the room anyway, determined not to back down this time. "Nothing? My clothes are gone. Your eyes are full of secrets. And now you have what? A key that you hide from me. I am your wife, Marcus. So whose business is it?" His jaw clenched, muscles moving as if he were grinding his teeth. When he finally looked at me, his gaze was filled with something I couldn't name: regret, anger, desire. Maybe all three. "You don't want to know, Emma." The way he said it made my stomach twist. A warning, a plea, a lie. "Try me." He stood up, rising before me, his presence filling the room like a storm. For a moment, I thought he would finally explode, finally showing me the passion he had kept locked away. Instead, he brushed past me, his sleeve grazing my shoulder with the lightest touch. "I have a meeting." His voice was sharp, final. "We'll talk later." That evening never came. That night, I sat in the living room waiting. The hours dragged on. The clock struck midnight and Marcus still wasn't home. His absence ate away at me until fury set me in motion. I poured myself a glass of wine, took out my phone, and opened a blank note. One by one, I wrote down every complaint, every disappointment, every time he had left me cold and rejected. When I finished, it wasn't just a list, it was a manifesto. I will not live as a ghost in my own marriage. I will not beg for crumbs of affection. I am Emma Sinclair, not your sister's shadow. The words flashed before me, sharp and defiant. For the first time in months, I felt alive. But then headlights swept across the windows, the sound of tires crunching on the gravel. He was home. I closed the note, my heart hammering. Marcus stormed into the house. His tie was gone, his shirt unbuttoned at the neck, his hair slightly disheveled. He looked every bit the untouchable man women whispered about. But his eyes were wild. "You waited up." His voice was low, husky. Yes, I did. I kept my tone even though my pulse was racing. "Where were you?" His lips curved into something that wasn't exactly a smile. "Jealous?" The word stung. "I'm not jealous. I just want the truth." He came closer, stalking, each step deliberate, until the heat of his body pressed against mine. He placed a hand on the wall next to my head, caging me in. His scent, cologne, smoke, and something else dark, enveloped me like a trap. "The truth," he murmured, his eyes burning into mine, "is dangerous." His gaze fell on my mouth, and for the first time since our wedding, I felt it. The hunger, the restraint he had clung to for 6 months cracked. For one breathtaking second, Marcus looked at me as if I was the only thing in the world he wanted. But then he stepped away, running a hand through his hair. His chest rose and fell as if he'd been fighting a war. "You should go upstairs before I do something I can't take back." I didn't sleep that night. In the morning, Marcus was gone again. His absence became a pattern, leaving before I woke up, returning long after midnight. The more I tried to reach him, the further he got, until the day I found the hidden room. It happened by accident. I had dropped an earring near his study, and when I bent down to pick it up, I noticed scratch marks on the wooden floor near the bookshelf. My fingers shook as I pressed against the wood, and to my surprise, the shelf moved slightly, revealing a narrow seam, a hidden door. Inside was a small, windowless room, and there, neatly folded on a chair, was my missing lingerie, piece after piece, delicate lace and silk, all smelling faintly of Marcus's cologne. On the desk was a journal, its cover black and worn. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. The first page was written in Marcus's careful handwriting. Day 1. I married her. She doesn't know the truth. She can't know it. If she ever finds out, I'll lose her forever. My knees buckled and I gripped the desk for balance. My vision blurred as I flipped through page after page. Drawings, observations about me, how I frowned when concentrating, how I cried when I thought no one was looking. The final entry completely took my breath away. Day 180. I can't hold back much longer. If I touch her the way I want, she'll hate me. But if I don't, she'll leave. Either way, I lose. I staggered back, the diary slipping through my fingers. That was the moment Marcus appeared in the doorway. His expression was unreadable, but the darkness in his eyes was unmistakable. You weren't supposed to see that. His voice was soft, too soft. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My chest heaved up and down, my throat dry. He approached, each step unhurried, predatory. Emma. My name was a whisper, but it vibrated through me. Now you know. The air between us thickened, heavy with truths I wasn't ready to face. And for the first time since I married Marcus, I realized that I didn't know if I was facing the man I loved or a stranger who had been hiding in plain sight. For a long heartbeat, neither of us knew. The hidden room hummed with silence. The kind that made every little sound feel loud, the soft ticking of the desk clock, the whisper of my labored breathing, the dull thump of my pulse in my throat. The diary lay open between us, My missing lingerie folded with ritual neatness on a nearby chair as if it were a sanctuary. "You weren't supposed to see that," Marcus said again, lower this time. And yet I did. My voice came out paper thin. He stepped in and closed the door. The click unbearably intimate in the lamplight. His face seemed carved, a study in control. I expected him to pounce on the diary, retrieve its secrets, and wipe them from my eyes. He didn't. He did the one thing that puzzled me the most. "What do you want to know?" he asked. 1,000 questions flooded my mind at once, colliding with each other. Why did you take my things? Who are you when I'm asleep? What is the key for? Why do you keep touching me with gloves, barriers, rules? Why marry me if you're only going to lock yourself away? I put a hand on the desk to steady myself. Start with the truth. He looked at the diary as if it were a living creature. The truth won't make me look good. Try me, I said. It came out firmer than I felt. He looked at the folded lace, then looked away, shame cutting a short, jagged line across his expression. I took them because I couldn't stand the smell of you on the sheets without losing the restraint I promised myself I would keep. The room helped. The ritual helped. Writing helped. He nodded at the journal. Boundaries kept me from being the worst version of myself. I felt my breath catch in my lungs. And the best version? He closed his eyes. Doesn't exist once I give in. My head tightened with confusion. Give in to what? To what desire turns me into, he said, opening his eyes. Silence fell like snow, not loud, not noisy, but heavy enough to build a winter. He rested his hands on the desk, his arms tense, his head tilted. When I was 19, I had a girlfriend who said she liked my way of being, the control, the structure, the intensity. She begged me for more. I believed her. And then one night, when a boundary slipped and I didn't see it in time, she panicked. She told everyone what I was. He swallowed the word. I wasn't accused, but I learned something. Even when two people say yes, one can still walk away feeling broken. I swore I would never let that happen again, especially not with you. A fissure opened inside me, something old and fragile shifting. So you decided to protect me from yourself? He sighed, humorless. It was easier than trusting myself with someone I couldn't afford to lose. I pressed my fingers into the spine of the journal. And the rumors about my sister? I didn't love her, he said simply. I admired what she represented, a kind, peaceful future. Her departure was a relief that I pretended was pain. When I chose you, Emma, it wasn't a consolation prize. It was the first real decision I'd made for myself in years. The ground leveled out beneath me, then gave way like sand. And the key? I asked, thinking about the velvet box on his desk upstairs. What does it open? He reached into his pocket and, to my amazement, pulled out the small black box. He must have brought it with him when he came home, the tie undone, the storm trailing behind him. He placed it between us and pushed it towards me. You tell me. I looked at the box, my breath catching on the edge of the moment. I slowly lifted the lid. The silver key lay where I had first seen it, simple, elegant, heavier than it looked. It's not for this room, he said. This room is mine, and that's the problem. The key is for something I can't open alone. I closed my fingers around the metal, surprised by its warmth. Where? Come with me. He led me down a hallway I'd never stopped in before to a narrow door under the stairs. He opened it with his own key and stepped aside. Inside was a small landing and another door at the bottom, new and unpainted, the lock intact. My key slid in with a click that sounded inexplicably like a promise. The room beyond was empty, just fresh white walls and a dimmer switch. But as the lights came up, I saw small, deliberate touches. A safe bolted to the floor, a cabinet below, a stack of sealed envelopes tied with a gray ribbon, a thick bundle of paper with a pen resting on top. What is this? I whispered. Your room, he said. Our room, if you want it. Nothing comes in here unless you choose it. Nothing happens here unless you say yes out loud. Signed, dated. The safe is yours. Contracts are templates. Only if we decide we want them. Envelopes or letters, truths I wrote and didn't dare to give away. Everything else is blank. His mouth tilted, not quite a smile. I Googled Emma. I made spreadsheets. I talked to lawyers, to therapists, to people who live responsibly with the needs that I have. I built a space for the version of me that scares me, and I put you in charge of the door. The sharpness behind my eyes blurred the room. Why didn't you tell me? I kept waiting for the right moment, he said, his voice turning raspy. Then I saw the scratches on your neck and realized I'd waited too long. The memory flashed. Claire's elegant hands and nervous laugh, the red crescents she'd left without meaning to. Did you think I'd been with someone else? I thought, he said, that I'd lost the right to ask. A complicated string tugged at my chest, pain, relief, a fragile hope I wanted to resent and couldn't. I walked towards the pedestal, toward the thick stack of paper. The top page was striking in its simplicity. A mutual agreement for intimacy, trust, and control. Draft, valid only with the signatures of Emma Sinclair and Marcus Hayes, dated and witnessed according to your preference. 3 words jumped out at me. Safety, consent, ownership, but not of each other, of choices. I touched the pen with my fingertips. You were never boring, I said softly, an ironic echo of the barb I'd thrown at him, just terrified of hurting me. He didn't move. You could still decide that fear is justified. The key was a small weight in my fist. You could still decide I'm fragile. I stood there, looking at him the way he had looked at me in the hidden room, as if the truth between us were a third person in the space, listening and measuring. So we try, I said. He flickered with wariness. Limits. The version of you that scares you. The version of me that refuses to be a ghost in my own life. I approached. The cold floor beneath my feet buzzing with possibility. We do it with rules. We do it slowly, and if one of us says enough, everything stops. Not tomorrow, not after one more try. Now. He exhaled, a sound that felt like the first breath after surfacing. Safe words. Green, I said, and my mouth tasted the language he had hidden. Red. Amber. Something in his posture broke and rebuilt at the same time. He nodded without taking his eyes off mine. I looked at the stack again, the whiteness of so many pages, how dangerous and ordinary they were. A pen could have been anything. My hand shook as I placed the key on top of the contract. The jingle was small but resonated anyway. Lesson 1, I said. His throat moved. What's the lesson? I swallowed. That wanting me isn't the worst version of you. His eyes closed, a blink. Then they opened. Darker, yes, but clearer too. He didn't come closer, didn't touch. He did the bravest thing he could have done. He waited. I picked up the pen, signed my name on the draft as a mark of intent. No witnesses, no date, no terms yet. Then I slid it aside without blocking anything. I took his hand and placed it palm up between us. Now you, I said. He signed under my name, no theatrics, just ink. It wasn't a contract, not legally. It was the end of pretense. We stood there watching the ink dry. 2 people who had been dancing around a door and had finally reached the knob. Lesson 2, I said in my firmest voice. Tell me what you want, clearly without apologies. I decide what I will try. If I say slow, you slow down. If I say red, you stop and we restart. His mouth curved, not with hunger this time, but with gratitude. Yes, Mrs. Hayes. The words should have sounded old-fashioned. They felt like a vow. It started small, not with my body, but with my breath. Look at me, he said, and waited until I did. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. We breathed. The air between us changed. The room got warm, or I did. The trembling in my hands calmed. I hadn't realized how loud fear could be until it softened enough to hear something underneath. Curiosity. Desire. "Good," he murmured. Again. We didn't touch for a long time. He asked my permission to tilt my chin, to put a lock of hair behind my ear, to trace the line of my wrist with a knuckle. When I nodded, he did it. When I said more slowly, he smiled like a man who was given a map of the city he was born in and was never allowed to walk. "Green," I whispered once, not to speed us up, but to keep us here in this gentleness that felt almost impossible. When our mouths finally met, it wasn't fireworks that novels promise. It was a seal on breath, on truth, on the wild and practical fact that we had something to build and we were both holding tools. We left the room without locking it. We didn't fix years of fear in one night. We fought less about sex than about the ways we had learned to disappear from each other. I flinched when he got too quiet. He shut down when I pushed too hard. We went to therapy separately and together. We laughed in places I didn't expect to find laughter, like when he admitted that in a moment of weakness and too much gin, he had tried Googling whether romance novels could count as continuing education. We put Post-its on the fridge that would have made Claire howl. No late-night guessing. No using mysteries as weapons. Ask before making up a story. Sometimes we closed the new door and didn't do anything at all inside, except talking with the dimmer set to the softest light. Sometimes he would kneel to tie my running shoelaces, and the intimacy of it melted me more than the hottest kiss. Sometimes he would say red and hug me with his forehead pressed against mine and whisper, "Thank you," as if I had saved us both from a fire. 2 weeks after the journal night, my sister sent a message from Paris, 3 short lines designed to detonate. "I heard your marriage was not consummated. I can help you both if you admit the error." I stared at the screen until my eyes filled with tears. Then I forwarded the message to Marcus with a single sentence. "I don't want her help. I want you." He responded with a photo, the black velvet box, the silver key beneath it, and a new card with his neat, inflexible handwriting. "I want you to have the house. The deed is in your name." The thick envelope in the safe contained proof of a transfer that had been initiated the week after our wedding and never submitted. I took the papers to the kitchen and placed them between us at breakfast. "Why?" I asked. "Because the worst version of me needs control," he said simply, "and the best version learns to give it away before it's asked. I should have done it sooner." I slid the deed back to him. "Lesson 3, I said with my heart in my throat. "Ownership is not love. Choice is." I pushed it halfway between us and left my hand there, palm open. "Let's sign it together." We did. The first time we made love with the door open and no barriers, it was nothing like the nightmares he had feared or the theatrical fantasies I had imagined. It was messy and uncertain and required 2 pauses, 1 amber, 1 green, again after talking. When it was over, we lay tangled in sheets that smelled like both of us, the lamp still dimmed low. "What are you thinking?" he asked, leaning on an elbow, his hair disheveled in a way no board of directors would recognize. "That I don't feel delicate," I said, smiling in the morning light. "Chosen," he said simply. He caressed my face, holding my lower lip with his reverent thumb. "Desired," he added, "both." We knew the story wouldn't end here, wrapped in blankets and soft joy. Stories don't end, they become days. The difference now was simple and unglamorous and sacred. We didn't hide from the days. 6 months later, Claire cried at our vow renewal and then claimed it was just the glue from her eyelashes. She made a toast that made everyone groan and cheer. For Emma, who refuses to be a ghost, and for Marcus, who finally realized that the scariest room in any house is the one where nothing is spoken. May your dimmer always work and your safe words rarely be needed. My sister didn't come. She sent a porcelain bowl from Paris with a note that said, "For fruit or apologies." We filled it with lemons and put it near the front door to remind us that sour can be beautiful if you don't pretend it's sweet. Sometimes late at night, I still catch Marcus in his old study with the journal. He doesn't write in it anymore. He reads a line, closes the cover, and puts it away again, as if saying goodbye to a version of himself he can honor without inviting home. And sometimes, more often than I would have believed, we go down to the room under the stairs. The safe now holds new papers, not deeds or preventative farewells, but letters we write when we are angry and agree to keep locked away until we are ready to read them aloud. There are also small, ordinary artifacts, ticket stubs from the first show he bought me without apology for wanting me too much, a silly keychain that Claire insisted was very you and not at all him. The key hangs on a hook next to the door where either of us can take it down. We don't pretend we're made of glass. We don't pretend we're bulletproof. We're a house with many rooms, and some of them are not for guests. We learned where the doors are and how the locks work. On our last anniversary, Marcus put his phone on the table with the screen facing up and said, "I deleted the searches." "I know," I said, raising an eyebrow. "Why? Have you stopped trying to Google your way out of being a person?" When he laughed, warm and unreserved, I realized I had stopped trying to be an idea. That night, I reached across the table and wove our fingers together. "Green," I said, and none of that was code. It was simply the color of a life we chose together, door by door. Thank you for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like and subscribe for more.